Welcome back to Flatirons Tuning. Our Pikes Peak race car is now back in the shop, and we have run the 2021 Pikes Peak Hill Climb. And as we've done a couple of videos leading up to the race, I wanted to come back and kind of give you our final results, especially in terms of cooling and the oiling system. Before we dive into that, just up front, I want to say, if you like this channel, if you like the content that we're putting out, please do like and subscribe to the channel. That helps us out a ton, helps it so that other people can find the channel. And if you like what we're doing and you want us to keep coming back and making more content for you, the best way to support us is to head over to flatironstuning.com. This video, as always, is brought to you by Flatirons Tuning, and if we've got anything that you might need over at flatironstuning.com, your business and your support is what lets us keep coming back and making this content for you. So thanks very much for watching, thanks for your support, and yeah, let's sign into it. So this year was different. Pikes Peak was different this year than it is usually. It snowed overnight. There was 6 inches of snow at the summit of Pikes Peak overnight, right before race day, and they moved the finish line down to 16 miles. So nobody, not even the first competitor that ran, got a full run up the mountain. So it was different in a lot of ways. So we didn't get a full test of the car at race distance, but it was close. And for us, on race day and through race week, we had a lot of positives to build on. First, from the oiling system standpoint, we did a couple of 30-minute tests, sessions out of PPIR before race week, and had just very minimal accumulation in the overflow tank for our oiling system. And then for all of race week, I think we emptied the overflow tank maybe twice and just had just the slightest bit of condensation and accumulation in there to drain out. So that was a huge, huge success. So as we've detailed the change in the plumbing of the dry sump system, that made a massive difference to the point where now that is not really anything that we would be worried about. I think we could easily do a 20 to 30 minute track session and probably multiple 20 to 30 minute track sessions without having to address anything to do with oiling system. And that is a huge confidence builder. Coupled with the fact that now we're holding a slight vacuum in the crankcase, it's just finally, with all of the help and the guidance from the guys at Roger Clark Motorsports, we think we've really got the dry sump where we want it to be so that we can run the car and know that we've got reliable oil going into the engine, plus we don't have any kind of headaches to do with the overflow as well. So that was really a confidence builder for us. So let's talk about cooling. As I said, it was cooler on race day than it usually was, but all through race week, the highest coolant temp that we saw was 202 degrees Fahrenheit, which is actually slightly improved from what we would normally see. And then on race day, where the finish line was set at 16 miles, was literally 1 turn below Devil's Playground. So this is at the top of the middle, very technical session with all the W's and the hairpins and such. Basically where we stopped the race this year is where typically we would see our cooling system completely pegged, temperature in the red. And this is where we finished this year, is where normally we would have to then take it easy on the car to try and limp it through to the finish line. And that's not what happened this year. Our peak coolant temp was 208 degrees. So by the time Scott got to the finish line, if we could have gone to the summit, there's no reason he couldn't have pushed just as hard as he wanted to. And that is a major change and a major win for us in terms of cooling. So in terms of both of those systems, it was a huge win for us this year. Now, as I've said that, I did put together a blog, you might have seen it, detailing the build of the car. And one of the things that we clarified there is that the engine in this car is still stock engine, stock sharp block, stock D25 WRX heads, cams, everything. And got some questions from multiple people like, why haven't we put a built engine in the car? And now that we've had that positive result, I can tell you that it's because it took us 8 years to get that positive result in terms of cooling especially, but also to a certain extent oiling. You have to remember that we inherited this car in 2013 in the flood because this was a flood car. This car spent 2 weeks underwater in 2013, and that's, it was totaled out, and that's what gave it to us so that we could turn it into a race car. So honestly, that first year, obviously once we knew that the engine ran, we just did simple bolt-ons, and it was really just a big question of would it make it to the top. And it did, but it overheated like crazy. We absolutely pinned the needle in the H on that first year of running, but we did make it to the top. So from that year on, for the first few years, we've been trying to improve the cooling to make it so that we can get a more reliable full throttle run up to the summit. So that's where we've done the water sprayers, the radiator, tried the electric water pump, this hood with the extraction vents on it. We've tried a lot of different things to try and keep the car cool, and we've had a lot of overheating issues through the years. Then there's our bearing failure. And I think it was as we were getting ready for the 5th year running, that's when the original engine with over 3,000 miles on it finally had a failure. So we drained the oil and we saw the bearing material in there. We knew we had to go in there. It was right before race week, so we had a little bit, just minimal time to get the car running again. And so that's where we decided to put another stock engine in, because that's what we had available to us to get the car running in the time that we had. And so we knew that oiling was an issue. We've known that the PCV system was an issue that needed to be addressed, with the aero separator and whatnot. So these are the things we've been working through with the car. We kind of came into it backwards, but it was in some ways because just that first year was just such a question of, well, will the car make it to the top? And then once we started seeing the problems that we were going to run into on Pikes Peak, that's where we didn't want to spend money on a race engine if we didn't know that we could keep it cool, to keep it reliable, because then we'd have to be replacing it way more often than we wanted to. And that's where we've stayed with stock short block. And that brings us kind of to this point here, where we now have finally got good results, both with cooling and with oiling. So at this point, our best full run time is 10 minutes, 56 seconds. And kind of jokingly around the shop this year, we realized, well, heck, maybe that is a world record for the fastest stock engine Subaru to make it to the top of Pikes Peak. And then that's got us kind of wondering, well, now that we know that we've got the cooling and the oiling system sorted finally, what time could this car put down? How much more time could we shave off of that if we had a full race run? So that's kind of where we're sitting now, is do we run it one more year and see, with this configuration, what kind of time can we put down with a stock engine, stock short block, stock D25 head, stock cams, and so on. Or now that we've got this positive result and this really finally for the first time good foundation from an oiling and cooling standpoint to put a built engine in the car and turn up the wick and try and make more power, do we go down that road? That's kind of where we're trying to make a call now. I mean, it's at this point probably 345 days until the next Pikes Peak hill climb. So the clock is ticking, the calendar, the days are falling away. So we've got to kind of make a decision on that here soon. But now we have the positive foundation where we could put that built engine in with confidence that we should be able to keep it reliable and get multiple race runs out of it before we need attention. So yeah, that's where we're at, and that was our result. And thankfully we finally have some really positive results in those categories. So even though we didn't get a full race run, there was a lot of good stuff for us to take away from the 2021 Pikes Peak Hill Climb. So we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your support as always. We really do greatly appreciate it. And until next time, stay tuned with Flat Iron Stew.